Hello chess fans and welcome to Chess 5. And today I'm going to show you the game between Dubov Daniil versus Maxime Vachier Lagrave. And this game is from the Airthings Masters played in 2020, and this game is going to be epic game. Because this game is very complicated, and if you are a complicated player, I think you will like this game. So let's dive into the game. So Dubov Daniil with the white pieces and Maxime with the black pieces. So Dubov Daniil with the white pieces started with 1 e4 and Maxime replied with c5, the Sicilian defense. Here comes knight to f3, d6, bishop to b5 check, and knight to d7. And knight c6 and bishop d7 can also be an option. All three moves are fine moves. He chose knight to d7. Here comes castle, and here Maxime pushes the pawn to a6, asking whether white wants to grab the knight on d7 or whether he wants to go back to d3. So Dubov Daniil gone back to d3. Here comes knight to f6, developing the pieces and putting some pressure on the e4 pawn. And here Dubov Daniil pushes the pawn to c3. The idea of playing c3 is, here white wants to play bishop c2 and pushes the pawn to d4, and white would be having a very nice center. So after c3, black played b5, gaining more space on the queen side, and the idea is to play bishop b7, hitting the e4 pawn with the double pieces, and there could be some serious pressure. So after b5, white played a4, giving no time to black and putting more pressure on the b5 pawn. So after a4, black played bishop to b7, simply developing the pieces, like saying okay, nothing is going to happen on b5, simply developing the pieces. So after bishop b7, white decided to capture the pawn on b5. Here comes a into b5, here rook into a8, queen into a8, and here white played knight to a3. Here bishop can capture the pawn on b5, but after bishop into e4, it's an equal position. That's why he decided to play knight a3 and now threatening to capture the pawn on b5. But here comes bishop into e4, grabbing a pawn, bishop into e4, knight into e4. A much better move at the place of playing knight into e4 can be to capture the bishop with the queen, because after knight into b4, here comes queen to c6, because the knight is covering the square of knight to c7 check. That's why queen c6, and it's a fine position. The plan is very simple: e6, bishop e7, castle. But after bishop into e4, knight into e4 was played. Here comes knight into b5, and now knight c7 is a very serious threat. Sorry about that. Now knight c7 is a very serious threat. So black played queen b7, protecting the c7 square and also attacking the knight on b5. So after queen b7, white played c4. At the place of c4, a better move could be to play queen to a4. The idea is very simple. The queen is having an open file. The queen have been developed successfully, and queen is protecting the knight on b5 as well as attacking the knight on e4. So sorry about that. So after queen to a4 could have been a nice move, but c4 was played in the game, and now come e6 by Maxime. Plan is very simple: bishop e7 and castle, and white pushes the pawn to d3, attacking the knight on e4. So knight have to move from the e4 square and went to f6, and here white played d4, pushing up the pawn. At the place of d4, white should have played bishop to f4. The idea of playing bishop f4 here, the double pieces attacking the pawn on d6, and only a single guard is there. So black should have played e5, which is the best move according to the engine, attacking the bishop on f4. And now comes queen b3 by white, a very nice move by white. Here black cannot capture the bishop, because now comes knight into d6 check, and after bishop into d6, queen is hanging on b7, and now it's completely winning position for white. That's why if you take after bishop f4, e5, queen b3, and in this position if you take queen b8 in this position, because now black is threatening to capture the bishop. Yeah, because after knight into d6 it's not going to work, because there is bishop into d6 and queen into d6. But after queen b8, now comes a very powerful move of white, which is rook to a1, saying okay, you want to grab my bishop, you can grab, because now comes a very powerful move by white, which is rook to a8. Here queen have to take, because queen cannot move because the king is hanging on e8. So So after queen into a8, now comes knight to c7 check, and the knight is attacking the king as well as the queen, and it's winning position for white. That's why after knight f6, a better move could be to play bishop f4, but d4 was played in the game, trying to open up the position directly. And after d4, Maxime played bishop e7, simply developing the pieces. Here we have d5, and here comes e5. A better move could be pushing the pawn is to capture the pawn on d5 with the knight, because here after c into d5 comes queen into b5, and after d into e6, f into e6, it's an equal position. Although black is a pawn up, but it's an equal position. But after d5, black decided to push the pawn to e5 and having a block position. So after e5, white played knight to h4, and the idea is to put the knight on f5, and the knight would be like a beast on f5, attacking the bishop on e7, attacking the pawn on d6, and third, attacking the pawn on g7 as well. So that's why after knight h4, Maxime I think came into some trouble and decided to play g6, covering the square of f5. But now dark squares have been weakened, and when the dark squares have been weakened, what should white do? White should take the dark squares by playing bishop h6, taking control of all the dark squares. So bishop h6 was a very nice move by Dubov Daniil. And after bishop h6, Maxime played bishop to f8. And after bishop f8, in this position, Dubov Daniil played f4, trying to open up the position, but this was a blunder by Dubov Daniil. At the place of playing f4, there is a very powerful move, and I think the move is although very hard to find. Feel free to pause the video and try to find the impossible move. If you are able to find it, you are a top level player. Okay, so to those who have found the right move, congratulations on finding the only move. Actually, it's very nice move, because the answer is bishop g7. Wow. First of all, the bishop cannot capture the bishop on g7, because now comes knight into d6 check, and the queen is hanging on b6. And even if you don't capture the bishop, if you play rook b8, now comes bishop into f6, knight into f6, and here comes queen b3. The idea is to capture the pawn, and white will capture the queen. So here queen c8, and now comes rook a1. And believe me guys, this is completely winning position for white in this position. White is simply going to crush black king. Black king cannot go anywhere. White is simply going to go crush black king by taking all the files, and black is simply going to get smashed. But after bishop f8, Dubov Daniil was unable to find bishop g7, and he played f4, which was a blunder, and it equalizes the position. After f4, e4 was played, which was a blunder by Maxime. In this position, he should have played queen b8. The idea of playing queen b8 here, because after f into e5, here comes bishop into h6, because now bishop can capture, because after knight into d6 check, there is no queen hanging on b7. So bishop into h6, here comes e into f6, and now castles, and this is an equal position. It's a playable position for both the sides. But e4 was played in the game, which was blunder by Maxime, and now comes queen to b3 by Dubov Daniil. The idea is very simple. Now Dubov Daniil is threatening to capture the pawn on d6 with a check, and queen will be lost on b7. But queen b3 was again a blunder by Dubov Daniil. In this position, he's still having a chance to play bishop g7, and the line is same. He can't capture because knight into d6 is winning, because of the queen is hanging. And if you play even rook g8, now comes takes, knight takes, queen b3, queen c8, rook a1, and it results in the same variation, and it's completely winning for white. But after e4, queen b3 was played in the game, which equalizes the position, because now comes queen to b8. Here comes bishop into f8, king into f8, queen to g3 by Dubov Daniil. Here comes knight h5 by Maxime, attacking the queen on g3, as well as putting some pressure on the f4 pawn, and also making a square for the d knight to come to f6. So after knight to h5, white played queen to c3, preparing to capture the rook on h8. So after queen c3, black played rook g8, Here comes g4 by Dubov Daniil, attacking the knight on h5. Here comes knight f6, g5, capturing up a pawn on d5. Here white cannot capture the pawn because after queen into b5, it's slightly better position for black. The reason is because in this position black queen on b8 is doing nothing, but after capturing up the knight after queen into b5, black queen is doing very much. That's why after knight into d5, Dubov Daniil played queen to d2, removing the queen from the c3 square. Here comes knight to b4, f5, trying to do a very serious attack on the king on f8. But after f5, here comes knight to d3 by Maxime. Here comes f6, closing up the position and giving no space to king, no space to knight on d7. And there could be some dark squares checkmating ideas for white in this position, and this could be a problematic for black in this position. But after playing f6, while black played here h6, a very nice move by Maxime, giving up a pawn because now comes rook h8 and there's no way for white to make progress. Black plan is very simple. He wants to play king g8, king h7, and his king is very safe. No one in the world can trouble his king on h7. So very nice move by Maxime, giving up a pawn on h6. Here comes rook h8, and now comes queen g5 by Dubov Daniil. This was a mistake. A better move could be to play knight to c3. The idea is the knight is attacking the pawn on e4, and there could be some, and there's also a nice square for the knight to go to d4, d5, and it's equal position. But queen to g5 was played, and it gives a better position for black in this position. Here comes knight to e5 by Maxime. Here comes rook a1, trying to gain the open file, but now it's no use. Here comes king g8, going for the h7 square. Here comes rook to a7. Here comes queen f8, knight c7. Perhaps the serious threat could be to play rook a8. And here comes rook into h6, capturing up a pawn on h6 with the rook. A better move could be to play king h7 and then planning to capture the pawn on h6, but he gone directly, and now this is slightly better position for black, not too completely winning. But now the next move, which looks the most natural move in this position, Dubov Daniil played rook a8, which looks the most human move. That's why he played knight c7. His threat is to play rook a8, which he played. But this was a blunder by Dubov Daniil. The better move could be to play knight e6 to continue the fight, because after f into e6 come rook g7 check, after queen into g7, f into g7, king into g7. Although white is, after queen e7 check, knight f7, black is slightly better in this position. Black is better in this position because it's two minor pieces against a queen, and the reason black is better in this position is because of the pawns black is having on the center. That's why. So but this can be a possible way to continue playing in this position. But after rook into h6, rook to 8 was played by white, which was a terrible blunder by Dubov Daniil. He thought that okay, the queen is hanging, yeah, but here comes simply a phenomenal move by Maxime, capturing up the rook on a8. The idea is here the knight cannot capture the queen, because now comes a super move I think you have found in this couple of seconds, because the right move is rook into h4. The queen cannot capture the rook because now comes knight f3 check, and white is losing the queen, and it's game over for white. And even if you don't capture the queen, even if you don't capture the rook, it's two minor pieces against the queen, but because of the e pawn, it's completely winning position for black in this position. That's why after queen into a8, here Dubov decided to capture the h6 rook with the queen, and there's a checkmate idea on g7. But now it's too late, because here comes queen a1 check, here comes king to g2, queen into b2 check, king to h3, knight to f2 check, king g3, queen to c3 check, king g2, here comes queen h3 check, a phenomenal move. Here comes king g1, here king cannot capture the knight because here comes knight g4 check, and the queen is lost on h6. That's why king g1, queen into h2 check. Wow, a next level move found by Maxime. Here comes king into h2, and now comes knight g4 check, and the queen has been lost on h6. And in this position, black is completely winning in this position because it's 5 pawn against 2 pawn, but still a couple of moves were played. After knight into h6 comes king f4. Here comes knight f5, knight into f5, g into f5. Here comes knight d5, knight into c4, king into f5. Here black pushes the pawn to e3, knight f4, d5, king g4, d4, king f3, knight d2 check, king e2, knight e4, and in this position, Dubov Daniil with the white pieces resigned the game, and Maxime Vachier Lagrave with the black pieces won the game. Great game by both the players. So guys, if you like this game, then please like to my video. If you are new to my channel, then please subscribe to my channel. I will come up with these new videos for you, so please stay tuned. Thank you for watching, and bye bye.